went a while back, and him and his wife came in, and they were just recently married, had bought a home, had a couple of children, and we were talking about, the mortgage and making ends meet, and how does that build into their living and day to day with income and everything that they needed to be able to have the home that they wanted to raise their children in. And when we talked about that, I always bring up protecting your family. It is so important. It is so, my heart just aches when people have not understood or even, had the conversation of protecting their family. And when I talked to these individuals, he was right away, no, I don't need that. Doesn't matter. We're going to be okay. I'm young. And I threw the question out of what if, things are going well today? That's your plan A. Everything's going well. What if something does fall off track? Maybe it's not a death. Maybe it's a critical illness. What is your plan B? How are you going to support the family, continue to make your payments, put food on the table? Even if you don't have insurance coverage that covers every little piece of debt, how do you partially take care of that responsibility and looking after your family? And if you don't have a plan B, what's your plan C? Because your plan C always falls back on you with your savings. And, now you're going to drain your savings. And what if you don't have those savings? Again, you're not working or somebody's passed away. You're putting people at risk of losing their homes. And his wife looked at him and said, I didn't realize how important this was. It's important to me that we have this, because she was home with the children. So whether it was something happened to him or something happened to her, there still was the replacement of having to look after those children and having time to grieve. So reluctantly, he said, okay, let's look at this. So again, I put a plan together, and I put a plan together that worked for them as parents, but I also put a plan together that worked for their children. That was a combination of saving for their education, as well as some life and critical illness insurance riders that should anything happen, they're all covered as well, and they could look after them if they needed to be in the hospital or anything. And I put it in place at a budget that they could afford, which meant everything was taken care of. 6 months later, I received a phone call from the wife, who was devastated. Her husband had been in a tragic accident on his way home from work, and unfortunately did not come out of this accident alive. And so that was the main breadwinner, the main income earner. Sorry, it hits me every time I hear this. And I said to her, I am so sorry. I went out and I saw her and the kids. I talked to them. I spent time with them. Then I came back to work in the background because I knew things were in place that they would be okay. And I was able to go to her within about 2 weeks with a check that not only paid off their mortgage, it paid off every single debt that they had, and it gave her 5 times what his income was, because that was the remainder of it. She broke down and cried so hard because she was not only grieving the loss of her husband, but she now did not have to worry about what comes next, because she had to support the kids with going through their grieving periods. She didn't have to think about now going out, getting a job, looking at daycare for these kids, and wondering when the next payment for that mortgage was going to come out. How are we putting food on the table? It was all taken care of. I will tell you, in a horrific situation that is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, is go to a family that has lost a member and spend some time with them to work through, grieve, and just share my heart with them, to being able to say to them, it's going to be okay. I've got you. We've set up for this exact scenario, and you're going to be okay in time. You now can look after yourself and your family. There is nothing more powerful or heartwarming in my job to be able to have that feeling of knowing I've done the best I can for my families, and I've left them in a position of being able to live life without having to sell their home or anything else like that. And those are, they're powerful. I've had a few situations where that has happened. And it's not always fun, but it's sure a great feeling to be able to put them at ease and to be able to put that blanket around them is what I call it. It's your financial blanket. It's your well-being blanket when the world turns sideways on you, that you've made the right decision for yourself and your family, that you can just carry on.